You are listening to the Nature's Premier Podcast, Episode 41, The Many Benefits of Breastfeeding Your Baby. Here on the Nature's Premier Podcast, we talk about everything from bees to babies and sustainable living. Join us while we talk about natural parenting and different ways to live a more sustainable lifestyle for ourselves and our future generations to come. Now let's begin. Welcome back to the Nature's Premier Podcast. I am your host, Brooke Nichols, and I am thrilled to be back with another episode for you all today. Wherever you are, I hope you are having a wonderful day and have a great week ahead. On today's episode of the podcast, we are going to be talking about breastfeeding and the many benefits that come with it. This is a great episode for those families who are not sure if breastfeeding is something that they can do or would be interested in, or for families who are expecting and are looking into finding out more benefits about it. In order to keep this episode shorter and easier to take in, we are going to break down our new breastfeeding series into a few different solo episodes, like discussing how to breastfeed, dealing with any issues that arise with breastfeeding, learning how to wean, and so forth in later episodes. Today is specifically about the benefits, so please do share this short episode with your friends and family so we can spread this info to more people who can use this information. Before we begin, we just wanted to give you guys a word from our sponsor, Nature's Premier Diaper Service. They are New York's cloth and compostable diaper service, providing families throughout Long Island and New York City with a healthier way to diaper their babies. Check them out at www.naturespremier.com to learn more on how you can reduce your eco-footprint with this awesome service today. Now on to the show. Breastfeeding is amazing. Truly it is. While it may not be the easiest thing in the world to do, like many advocates will make it seem like it is, it certainly wasn't the case for me. It is an incredible gift you can give your baby and to yourself, as it brings many nutritional benefits and bonding benefits to you and your baby. Now, just a side note, this isn't to say that you cannot get these benefits if you do not breastfeed, as bonding comes in many forms, but breastfeeding is just a different league of its own. Many cannot breastfeed for either physical or emotional reasons, and that's okay, because we are all different, and this is not about saying one is superior over the other, just highlighting the amazing benefits that come with this practice for those who are interested in learning about it. These are just too good to ignore, and more people really should know about the incredible benefits of breast milk for mother and baby. Especially if you are planning your hospital bag for the hospital, if you are currently pregnant. Do know that a lot of formula companies team up with different hospitals, and they're put into those free grab bag type of things that the hospitals give you when you have a baby. A lot of these formula companies are strategically putting their products into these hospital bags and making it as simple as opening up a can of soda and giving it to your baby because it's super easy to use, and a lot of these mothers are very tired. So do know that there's a big business behind it. It's a lot of money. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So a lot of things you probably will read about formula is going to be glorified a little bit. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about, formula feeding, but I am saying that there's a big marketing push behind it. Whereas with breast milk, it's free, you make it naturally, and it's something that is just amazing, at giving great benefits to your child. So just keep that in mind while you're listening to this episode, because depending on where you go online, you will read different things, and you have to be very careful if it's being funded by the formula industry or not. Breast milk provides optimal nutrition for babies. It has been dubbed liquid gold by many in the natural parenting and the Leche League circles. It has the perfect amount of nutrients for your baby, completely suited to his or her needs, is easily digestible and readily available. Breast milk provides amazing benefits to your baby that simply cannot be duplicated in a lab. Breast milk is tailored to your baby's needs. Formula isn't able to change its composition, but your breast milk morphs to meet your baby's changing needs. Colostrum, the premium that comes in after you deliver, is chock full of antibodies to protect your newborn baby. It's also higher in protein and lower in sugar than full milk, so even a small amount can hold off your baby's hunger. Breast milk also helps to fight colic. If you ever hear stories about friends or family that deal with children that have colic, a lot of times they're formula fed because the baby is not having a good response to the formula. But breast milk, again, it's tailored to your child. So it's almost like this perfect formula that was specifically made for your baby. And that formula, even if you give it to another baby, will still give it benefits, but to your baby, it's specifically tailored. So everything that your baby needs is going to be enough in that breast milk, and it's amazing. And that's why you do have a lower instances of cases like colic where the baby is crying and just having digestive issues. As your baby grows, the milk changes to suit your baby's nutritional requirements and has many advantages to your child well into toddlerhood. According to WebMD, breastfeeding has been linked to higher IQ scores in later childhood in some studies. What's more, the physical closeness, skin-to-skin touching, and eye contact all help your baby bond with you and feel secure. Breastfed infants are more likely to gain the right amount of weight as they grow rather than become overweight children, which brings on a whole other host of issues in itself, especially in this society when the children get older and they are, watching commercials for junk food, and it just kind of builds from there. If they are more predisposed to being overweight, if they are not breastfed, or if they are on different formula and maybe doesn't suit them, then it's definitely going to pose an issue as they get older. The American Academy of Pediatrics says breastfeeding also plays in a role of prevention against SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. It's been thought to lower the risk of diabetes, obesity, and certain cancers as well. Some other benefits for your baby while breastfeeding, according to Lanceno.com, are that breastfed babies get sick less overall, they have a lower risk of type 1 and type 2 diabetes, have a reduced risk of ear infections, which I can personally attest to. As a formula-fed child, I had chronic ear infections and earaches most of my childhood, whereas my children have never even had one, and I have 3 daughters that I breastfed for a combined total of 8 years or so. They are also on a path for optimal brain development. Breast milk is just so high in nutrients, and it really does cater to every part of their brain and their development to really help boost, their development in that area. Breast milk gives children the nutrients to help strengthen and develop their immature immune system in a way that no other substance can. Some can come close, but none can duplicate what breast milk offers. Breast milk helps newborns respond better to immunizations against polio, tetanus, and influenza. Breast milk also helps have optimal oral development because their jaw movement and nutrients in breast milk decrease the risk of tooth decay. Now, another thing to note is that when you actually breastfeed your baby and don't use a bottle, you are moving all of those, jaw movements in the baby's mouth. Like they're getting an actual pacifier type of comfort, and they are working all of their jaw muscles. Whereas if you're using a bottle or you're using a pacifier, the child is constantly sucking. They need to work, those jaw movements. They need those motor skills. And actually nursing from a breast does help to work all of those muscles, which is why some breastfed babies, like my children included, they never had a pacifier. They didn't need that. After they breastfed, they were tired because their mouth got an actual full workout. Like it actually satiated all of those necessary developmental movements that their mouth needed, and they fell asleep. That's why a lot of times breastfed babies are just always sleeping. And then children who are, using a pacifier or they're in a bottle, they don't always get that same, stimulation with their mouth. Although bottle companies really are stepping up and they are creating bottle top nipples that are starting to recreate the same movement that comes from a breast. Babies who are breastfed are protected against respiratory infections, including those caused by the rotavirus. And they are also less likely to be hospitalized with pneumonia or bronchitis and have a decreased risk of respiratory tract infections, according to some studies. Breast milk, as stated before, is also full of antibodies that really feed and build your child's immune system. It helps your newborn to avoid diseases in a variety of ways and aids in older children as well, which is why the World Health Organization and UNICEF both advise breastfeeding to 2 years and beyond. A child's immune response does not reach its full strength until age 5 or so the longer you can breastfeed, the better. However, any length of time is beneficial to your child and will reap benefits from it regardless the length you spend doing it. So let's say you can only nurse for 3 months as opposed to 2 years or beyond, you're still getting those crucial benefits. However, a lot of people think you only have to breastfeed like the first 2 to 4 weeks when you have colostrum, which really only is in the first few weeks, because that's where the bulk of the nutrients are going to happen, and you can switch to formula after that. And that's just simply not the case. While, yes, when you breastfeed a newborn, like a brand new baby, they're certainly going to get so many benefits, but you really kind of want to stay on that the best that you can. And there's different ways to breastfeed that we will go into other episodes, but just to state that whether you actually breastfeed from your breast or you breastfeed from a bottle, the baby's still getting the same nutrients. So you can certainly pump. There's a lot of different friendly breastfeeding pumps out there. And I personally have my own journey with breastfeeding. I had a very hard time doing it. I had chronic mastitis, excruciating pain with my oldest daughter, and I stayed through it. I stayed the course, and I just stayed on the program, and I, although fed her out of a dropper for the first few months, which is another story I'll touch on another topic, another episode with breastfeeding, it was painful and it's hard, but any way you breastfeed is going to be beneficial, so don't feel like, oh, I only breastfed for 6 months. I mean, 6 months is 6 months, and that's an amazing contribution that you gave your child in those 6 months. So do not feel any type of way. Again, any length of breastfeeding that you give your baby is going to benefit them in some way or another. And it's just a great thing to be able to offer your child. So those are just some of the benefits of breastfeeding your baby. Now let's chat real quick about breastfeeding for the mother, because of course, a lot of times we like to just forget about the mom or dad and just immediately go for the baby. So we want to take a couple minutes just to talk about the many benefits for the mother that she can see while breastfeeding. One of the biggest benefits of breastfeeding for the mother is better healing post-delivery. The oxytocin released when your baby nurses helps your uterus contract, reducing post-delivery blood loss. Plus, breastfeeding will help your uterus return to its normal size more quickly at about 6 weeks postpartum compared with 10 weeks if you don't breastfeed. So as you're nursing your baby, it is sending those hormones to contract your uterus and bring it back down to size. Breastfeeding also helps to reduce a mother's chance of cancers. Statistically, breastfed mothers will have a lower risk of premenopausal breast cancer and ovarian cancer, an often deadly disease that's on the rise. So if you breastfeed, you do have statistically a smaller chance of getting these types of cancers. So that is certainly a huge benefit. Now, another benefit that I have heard forever, and I'm a little salty about because it actually didn't work for me, after I had my youngest children, every single one of them, I have 3 children, a month after I had them, I gave birth, I had my period normally. Like, it came back normally every single month. It never skipped. Maybe it was 5 weeks, but honestly, I never had these months-long, years-long hiatus with breastfeeding. So I am going to share this with you, but do note that this isn't for everybody unless I'm just a weirdo, which I am, but unless this just affected my body differently. Breastfeeding your baby around the clock, no bottles or formula, will delay ovulation, which means delayed menstruation. Breastfeeding causes the release of prolactin, which keeps estrogen and progesterone at bay so ovulation isn't triggered. When your prolactin levels drop, these 2 hormones can kick back in, which means ovulation and hence menstruation occurs. So even if you do breastfeed exclusively, your prolactin levels will eventually drop over the course of several months. Many moms who solely nurse will see their periods return between 6 and 8 months after delivery. Some don't see it for up to a year. But again, everybody's different. Like, I honestly saw my period come back after a month. So everybody's different. So just take that with a grain of salt. But do know that most people who breastfeed, most mothers who breastfeed, they do see that their period is on a vacation. So that's a very big perk. Another pro is that if you're a working mother, we're all working mothers, right? Like, even if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're still working, you still got a job. But if you're working outside of the home or you're working in the home, another huge benefit is that breastfed babies are not nearly as sick as much. They're sick less often, so that means fewer sick work days for you. So you do get more work done. If that's something that you're looking to do, if you have your own business or if you're working for someone else, you will have less sick days with a breastfed baby. So that's something that's definitely awesome to consider, especially if you do have to work or if you have a 2-family income. Another benefit of breastfeeding for the mom is something that's not talked about enough, and that's really just an unmatched feeling of power. It's empowering as a new mother to see your baby grow and thrive on your breast milk alone. Something about, having insecurities or being self-conscious really just gets pushed away when you think about the fact that you are an amazing being, that you created this high-quality, formula, this liquid gold, as should we say, that seems to be the topic of the show today, and you're giving this to your baby. You're making that yourself. No one's giving it to you. It's something that your body is making. And it's just really makes you appreciate the human body. We are an amazing machine, better than any computer on earth. And it's just very empowering to know that you are giving life to something else, that you are giving nutrients, that you are giving food, that your baby is relying on you. And it's just something that's very empowering. It really does help to boost your self-confidence, especially being a new mom. We all go through, whether you have a vaginal birth or you have a C-section, we all go through our own body insecurities. Your body does change when you have a baby. A lot of people can bounce back, but many cannot. So we do deal with a lot of inadequacies. And breastfeeding really does help you build your confidence back up, because it really does show you that you're more than what you look like. You are a human being. You are someone that's powerful. You are a spiritual being, if you want to believe in that. And you are a goddess, right? Like, you are giving this life to your child. So it's something that's very empowering, and I just wanted to touch on real quick because that is something that really does help to build self-confidence, especially after having a baby. Another benefit is that breastfeeding actually releases hormones in your body that promote mothering behaviors. So a lot of people act on instinct when they have a baby, but breastfeeding actually can help you become a better mother, so to speak. So it is just as important nutritionally to breastfeed as it is psychologically to bring you and baby closer together. And this is why a lot of times they say breastfed babies are attached to their mother. Oh, I'm a bottle or whatever. Like, honestly, a lot of times, especially as the baby gets older, it's really considered comfort nursing. Like my 3.5-year-old, she hasn't breastfed in a few months. I stopped breastfeeding her over the summer. She was about 3.5. She'll be 4 in May. But a lot of times, especially towards the end of our nursing days, she really just wanted to nurse for comfort. She wasn't actually getting any milk. I don't even think I was producing any milk, to be honest. But the bond was kind of like she didn't want to lose that. But now that bond has just grown into something else. Now we're still very close. I still hold her close. And it's something that has really strengthened our relationship. And I do really believe that breastfeeding helped me to build the cues to be the best mother that I can be. Now, even if you're bottle feeding, you could do the same thing. There's a lot of things that you can do to have the same bonding that breastfed mothers have, like keeping them close, looking them in their eyes when you're holding the bottle, snuggling them, wearing them, just being very close to your baby, rubbing their head. There's a lot of things that you can mimic that breastfed mothers do. But it's just fascinating to know that you actually have hormones inside you that are released to really help the paternal process, go further, so to speak. Like, it really does help to progress that. So there's just a lot of benefits for a mother. There's physical benefits, there's emotional empowerment, there's definitely emotional benefits, and there's psychological benefits. It's just amazing that, something as simple as breastfeeding can really have so many benefits from everyone around them. Now, another thing that's often, isn't as talked about as much when we're talking about benefits is that it really does help to build new friendships. When you're a new mother and you are learning about parenting and, we're all winging it, right? We're all doing the best that we can. It really does help build, stronger friendships with new people. If you're joining a local leche group or if you're joining like a natural parenting group, or even if you're just online, right? Because you can build friendships online. It really does help to, learn more about other people, learn more about their situations, to deepen your friendships, learn together and be a part of this journey of breastfeeding. It's just a great outlet to meet new people and to build lifelong friendships. And that's something that I have personally done, in my career and as a mother and as a breastfeeder. It's something that has really helped. Again, it's talking about parenting styles, it's talking about nighttime feedings or engorgement. Nursing really does allow women to forge positive postpartum friendships, and that can actually help to reduce postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. Because a lot of times when you are dealing with these kind of disorders, you kind of want to be by yourself. But if you're talking to other people, a lot of times they'll drag you out of it. They'll share their experiences, and you don't feel as alone. So breastfeeding as a whole is just a magical experience that you only experience for such a short period of time. If you think about the, total length of time in a life and you think about breastfeeding, yes, it's difficult for many families, myself included, but the benefits far outweigh any struggles, in my personal opinion, that I have dealt with. Like, if I had to do it again, I would do it. And I remember thinking in my head, like, I was going to do it. There was nothing that was going to stop me. And it was a really hard journey for me at first. I was a young mother, and it was something that was very difficult for me, but I'm so happy that I stuck with it because I feel like it just helped me to grow as a person. It helped me to really bond with my girls and give them the best that I could give them. If I had to formula feed, I would still feel the same way because I did the best that I could in that situation. But just as being a breastfed mother or breastfeeding mother and having gone through that, it's something that I do miss because it is such a small period of time. So I guess the moral of the story is there are many benefits of breastfeeding, and it far beyond exceeds the nutritional benefits from the baby. Like the baby's going to benefit regardless because as parents we do the best that we can for them. But the fact that you get so many benefits as being the mother in breastfeeding is just something that's amazing. And it really just shows you how amazing the human being is, the human body is, and just how great life is in general. And again, breastfeeding is such a small period of time. So wherever you are, regardless of your struggles, if you're struggling with mastitis, if you're struggling with engorgement, not making enough milk, just enjoy where you are and just be there, right? Always just be there because this period of time goes so fast. And then one day they are gone, they're off to college or they're off starting their own businesses, their own families. And then you are there just with your memories. So wherever you are, be there, be happy, and just experience this beautiful experience of breastfeeding, of parenting, and just being alive. Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of the Nature's Premier podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do make sure to rate and subscribe to this podcast as it really does boost the show higher into the iTunes so more families can see this podcast and hopefully learn from it just like you did. If you have any feedback, questions, or would like to collab on a future episode of the podcast, please do send us an email to podcast@naturespremier.com. We absolutely love hearing from our listeners. Thank you all so much for tuning in again. And until next week, we hope you have a wonderful, stress-free week ahead. Take care, friends.